David was different from all the other kings. Can you close the door? Can you close the door? King David was different than all the other kings. King David had something totally different. And we explained in the beginning of the mimer that how is a king different from everybody else in the world? The king's purpose is to connect the Jewish people with God. To make God more real to them, that God is not just a biblical figure or a spiritual idea, but that God becomes part of everybody's everyday life. Okay, so we said in the beginning of the mimer that we explained in the beginning of the mimer, or the beginning of this Hasidic discourse, why it was we find that God and also Samuel the prophet got angry at the Jewish people when they asked for a king. So it says the reason is because they asked for the wrong reason. They wanted to have a king to do these jobs for them, to keep law and order, and to raise them up closer to God, make God more real to them. And that was wrong. They should have had it because of the commandment. The commandment to the king. And that he elevates them and makes law and order that they should have done on their own. Should have done it on their own. Should have had advisors, prophets, other people, but a king they didn't need for that. A king, they could have done it on their own. But nevertheless, we see that God did give them a king, and we also see that God did give them a king. Why? Because if they're at that level, a person is at the level that he wants to be. If he doesn't want to be any higher, if he doesn't believe in himself, then that's where he's at. So it ends up that God and the prophet Samuel got mad at them because they didn't believe in themselves. That's why they got mad at them. They didn't believe in themselves, and they didn't want to work to bring out this hidden potential that they had. They wanted a king to do it all for them. Make it easy for them. Okay, but nevertheless, we see another interesting thing, that the Mashiach is going to be a king. Now, in the time of the Mashiach, everybody for sure is supposed to be higher. It's supposed to be elevated. The world is supposed to be filled with the knowledge of God. So why do we need a king? So let's start. Can we start from the beginning of this paragraph? Gimel.
Yes.
But Adayin tzarich lahavin. We still have to understand. Mahu, what is this? Shamashiach, that the Mashiach, Gam Kain, also Yeh Melech, will be a king. According to Judaism, the goal of Judaism is to bring the Mashiach. Some people have set the goal of the Mashiach, the goal of Judaism is to go to heaven, or to come to the land of Israel. We shall all be living here together, or that all the Jews should be. These are all wonderful things, no doubt about it. Going to heaven and living in Israel, doing the commandments, being religious, these are no doubt great. But the real goal of Judaism is not that. The real goal of Judaism is something much higher than that, and that is to bring the Mashiach. What's the thing of Mashiach? How can Mashiach be greater than... Well, first of all, Mashiach he's the only one that's really going to cause these things. Other than that, Mashiach, all the Jews will not live in the land of Israel. Even all the Israelis won't live in the land of Israel. All the Israelis, how many Israelis left? I turned it on. It was on before.
It was on before?
Yeah. It was already on. Okay. Who's the last one to use it? Me.
Yesterday.
Huh?
Yesterday was me.
You used it?
For yesterday morning.
So from the morning it's been on. I didn't turn it off. Okay. So, yes, the goal of Judaism is really to bring Mashiach. Interestingly enough, Mashiach is the only one that's going to, first of all, really accomplish these things, that all the Jews will do Torah and mitzvahs, all the Jews. He's going to bring them to do it. Without that, it's not going to happen. All the Jews will come to the land of Israel. Without Mashiach, it's not going to happen. Of course, if all the Jews aren't in Israel, you can't do the commandments. A tremendous number of the commandments depend on the land of Israel. And also the thing of going to heaven, individuals can get it now, but Mashiach is going to cause by means of making everybody do Torah and the commandments as they'll all go to heaven. But that's not the goal. The goal is not to go to heaven. For sure not. If so, why do we need the Mashiach? So we're going to see the question. Why does the Mashiach have to be a king? Why a king? Let him just be a prophet. Let him be a great person. Why does the Mashiach have to be a king? A king is somebody who's totally different, totally higher than everyone, especially a king like King David. So we'll see. But Adayan still, Tzorech Lahavin, we have to understand, Mahu, what is this? Shel Mashiach, that the Mashiach Gamkein also, Melech will be a king. Why does the Mashiach have to be a king? To the fee that according to Masha Nizbrele, we said before, in Perek Aleph, in the first chapter, Kasha, we have a question. Ki, because B'zaman, B'yas Mashiach, in the time of the Mashiach, B'meirah B'yaminu Amen, you will be called B'nai Israel, all the Jewish people will be Talmidei Chachamim. All the Jewish people will become wise. How do we know that? The prophet says in Isaiah, U'mala ha'oretz de'as avaya. The world will be filled with the knowledge of God. The Kasiv, and it's written in Jeremiah, Lo yilmadu od ish Yisraelu. A person will not teach his friend anymore. In other words, everyone will know intrinsically their creator, the God who created them. Everyone will feel the mystery of the creator inside of themselves because everyone's being created. You'll just feel the God who's creating you. And because God is creating you a Jew, and every Jew, at the essence of his soul, is the Torah. Like the rabbis of Chabad said, the first Rebbe, especially the previous Rebbe, a Jew is not able to, he cannot, and he does not want to go against the Torah. A Jew is not able to go against the Torah. Why? Because that's at the essence of his soul. Like a normal person doesn't take a saw and cut off his arm. Normal person doesn't do it. There might be all sorts of not normal people that might do things like that. But a normal person does not cut off his limb or take out his eyes out or something. A normal person doesn't do it. The same way a normal Jew cannot live without the Torah. He can't live without it. It's like natural to him. But it's a different type of a nature. It's an inner nature. And this is what's going to be in the days of the Mashiach. In the days of the Mashiach, everyone is going to know God. Everyone will intrinsically do all the Torah mitzvahs. Maybe people might have to ask advice a bit, learn. But you won't have to have people teaching one another. People will intrinsically know and do the commandments. So even if you want to say the Mashiach will do this, but after he does it, so you won't need a king anymore. You won't need him anymore. If so, lama, why? Tzarichim l'melech. Why does he have to be a king? Why does the Mashiach have to be a king? The Mashiach can just be a very, very spiritual, holy person. People will go and ask him advice, or he can give prophecies, and that's it. You don't have to have a king ordering everybody around all the time. The Cain and also Kasha, and it's a question al mitzvah, on the commandment of the Torah. Limanos melech, to pick a king in Israel. Why is there such a mitzvah like this? Halo Torah achas. Isn't it so that there's one Torah lekulanu to all of us? Im Cain, if so, gam talmidei chachamim. Also the wise men, the people who sit and do learn Torah and are improving themselves constantly, they were also commanded bekach in this. Im Cain, if so, kasha, I got a question. Lefi, according to Masha Nizber Le'el, what we explained before in Perek Aleph, in the first chapter, that a king is there to elevate the people and to keep law and order. And if everyone is Talmidei Chachamim, you don't need that. People naturally elevate themselves, or with their friends, with their help, with their teachers, but you don't have to have a king to do that. Exactly the opposite. They got angry. God and Samuel got angry when the people asked for a king. They didn't need a king. They could have done it on their own. They should have been to that level. If so, why is there a mitzvah at all? Why do we have a commandment to make a king? Unless you want to say that maybe a king, picking a king is something like the commandment of not eating milk and meat or something. It's just one of those commandments you don't understand. You can't understand. Maybe that's it. But that doesn't really make any sense because the king is a person who is involved in every single instant of your life. Every single instant of your life you have to be that you don't understand anything. Why? What about learning Torah? What about doing mitzvahs? Who knows what the king is going to command you to do? A commandment like not eating milk and meat is just for 1 minute, a couple of minutes. But the king is going to be every instant of your life. He's going to rule over every instant of your life. So there must be some logic in picking the king. Why is there such a mitzvah to pick the king if it's not necessary? Everybody's going to be at a tremendously high level, and you won't need a king. You won't need a king. Why have a mitzvah like that? Says Inyan, the be'emes that really shayech, it's relevant, bechinas malucha, it's chayeh, it's relevant kingship. It's almost like saying it's a commandment to overeat. That you have to always overeat. Even if you don't need to eat, you have to eat all the time. Why would there be a commandment like that? It'll wreck your whole life up. Right? Just to always overeat. The same thing, a king, it's not necessary. If everyone's already a Talmid Chacham, and everybody already knows all the commandments, and everybody's doing the commandments, so why just have a king to stuff you up all the time with all these new things? You don't need it. It's not necessary. Says the Rebbe, yes it is. Ha'inyan. Where are we now? But ha'inyan, the be'emes that really shayach, it's relevant, bechinas malucha, the idea of kingship, gam also on Talmid Chachamim, even on people who are, how do you want to say it, tzaddikim. Even people who are totally righteous, they still have to have a king. Why? Hagam, even though shemaskilim b'Torah, that they deepen their minds in the Torah. Ve'ein or nitzrachim, and they do not need liot to be bebechinas bitol. They do not have to be like servants. They don't have to be negated to God like a servant al derech hanal, like we said before. They don't need this. They already are at this level. But why do they need, if so, why do even these tzaddikim need a king? Shehi bechinas malucha yoter nalis. This is a level of kingship which is higher. It says a very interesting thing. It's brought in the Zohar that the Mashiach is going to make the tzaddikim do tshuva. People who are tzaddikim, what do they have to do tshuva for? The tzaddik, according to the Tanya, is a person who always feels God. He feels that he's being created all the time. A tzaddik is a person that feels that his whole being and his whole existence is a total miracle from God. Every single instant. He's being created. He's being created from absolute nothingness from Hashem. You feel this. Maybe we can understand it, we can think about it. But to feel it, no way. We feel ourselves. A tzaddik feels only the Creator all the time. If so, this is a tremendously high person. What does he need a king for? What does he need? Says the Rebbe that there's no end to this elevation. Even the greatest tzaddik, that he thinks he's tremendously close to Hashem, the fact is he's not. Mashiach will bring a level which is totally higher. What's it like? There's a very tragic story in the Torah, in the Bible, about Yosef and his brothers. Now Yosef's brothers were all tremendous tzaddikim. They were all tremendously righteous people. They were the sons of Jacob. All of them were totally devoted and united with God. All of them. These were the tribes of Israel. This is the tribes of Israel. This is the Jewish people. But nevertheless, they hated their brother Yosef and they wanted to kill him. So it says, why? Because Yosef was on such a tremendously different level than they were. Even though they were all tzaddikim, he was on such a tremendously different level than they were that they couldn't understand what he was doing. They thought to themselves, if we're tzaddikim, and the whole world depends on tzaddikim, the whole world depends, it says tzaddik yesod olam, that the whole world depends on righteous Jews. The whole world depends on it. They said, listen, the whole world depends on us. We're righteous Jews. Everybody knows it, so that's an obvious thing. All right, righteous Jews. If he's different from us, then what can there be different from us? We're as high as we can get. It must be. If he's different, then he's coming to destroy the world. We can't understand what he was. What did he do that they couldn't understand? That Yosef was the king of all of Egypt. He eventually became king of the whole world. The whole world had to come to him because there was a famine in the whole world. He was the king of all of Egypt. He made, it says, all the Egyptians circumcise themselves. He directed every single instant. He was always making split-second decisions about the most mundane and ridiculous things. It says the Egyptians, by their nature, are people who are very, licentious people. They're very, it says, it's called the Irvas Ha'oretz. By their nature, they're people who love, I don't know if it's still the same now, but at least that's what it was back then. They loved idolatry. They loved all the things that are forbidden, they loved. They were really good at. And Yosef was the king of them. So you can imagine what type of people he was dealing with, right? People in the government, people who are at his level. Everybody must have hated him, but they didn't. Somehow or other got along. And these, the brothers of Yosef, they all were tremendously tzaddikim. They were tremendously ayin. In order to maintain their level of holiness, they had to be separate from the world. So all of them were shepherds. All of them were shepherds. They were out in the fields. They were just thinking about God all the time. And they could see somebody that's a Jew dealing with God all the time, that's connected to God, but nevertheless dealing with all these things. They thought, there's a trick here. Something's wrong. We see that he's a very powerful person. We see that he's a very holy person, but he's dealing with the world all the time. Something is wrong over there. It's a trick. And therefore they hated him. Therefore they couldn't stand him. They saw in his potential that he was a different type of person. Of course, they hated him before he was the king. He wasn't king yet. But they saw that he had this potential. They couldn't figure out what it was. Right? So it says that they didn't recognize him. That's why they hated him. That's going to be the idea of Mashiach. Mashiach is going to be a person that's going to be so incredibly different from everybody else, even the big tzaddikim. And that's why we see with King David that the people who were his enemies were big tzaddikim. These were very holy people. Sheba ben Gera, it says he was the head of the Sanhedrin. He was one of King David's enemies. And Doag and Achitophel, it says that they could give advice like the Urim and the Tumim. Achitophel. And Doag was a tremendous genius, Talmudic genius. It says these people were, who knows how, the level of spirituality that they had and the devotion they had to God, but they couldn't stand King David. Just last week we learned about Moshe and Korach. Korach couldn't take King David, couldn't take Moshe and all the Jewish people. Why? Exactly the same reason. Moshe was always trying to elevate them, bring them to a higher level, not to let them rest spiritually where they were. Couldn't take it. So listen, we're holy enough. He said, Kulam Kadoshim, we're already holy enough. He said, Korach, leave us alone. What are you raising yourself above us? We're the holiest you can get. You can't be anything holier. Says the Rebbe, yes there is. The idea of Mashiach is going to be a person that's going to be totally different and elevated. And that's why today people don't like the idea of Mashiach. They don't like it. They don't like the idea. Or they say it's an idea is okay, keep it far away. But to say that this person, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he's the Mashiach, no, come on, let's calm down now. Let's take it easy, right? This person cannot be the Mashiach. Okay, why not? Why can't he be? Mashiach has to be different. What exactly? It's not that. Not that, believe me. Mashiach learned in university. Come on, can't be university. Why not? Who said why not? Why not? Why not? Mashiach is wants everybody to learn Kabbalah. What? Come on, let's get the facts. Right. Could be. I'm not saying. I remember I was at the Kotel once. We had these flags of Mashiach, and all these people gathered around. They said he can't possibly. So I said, listen. Everybody has to be impatient for Mashiach to come. If you don't think the Lubavitcher Rebbe is Mashiach, it's okay. I'm not trying to force you. I'm just saying what I believe. Believe somebody else is Mashiach. I don't care. The main thing is people should be waiting and going crazy for Mashiach. That's the most important thing. You have to be, the Chafetz Chaim, that was a big Litvische Jew, he was waiting every second for Mashiach. He had his baggage ready. That's where people should be. They were waiting for Mashiach. The fact of the matter is the Rebbe Rashab, he was the Mashiach, and he was good friends with the Rebbe Rashab, and he didn't, but at least they didn't hate the Rebbe Rashab. At least they didn't hate him. So Mashiach has to be a human being, a real person, and that's what people can't take. People can't take that this person is higher than me. This person, you know who I am. I can do miracles. There's nothing great. I know the whole Torah. This person I'm going to accept. He's going to be my king. No way. Says the Rebbe, it's a good question, and the opposition is truly in its place. It goes against the grain of people. People don't like to be told what to do, especially things that they're totally out of their mind. Why should I do that? What should I do that for? It's almost like the non-religious people. You tell them that they have to keep Shabbos. Right? You have to keep Shabbos. Why should I keep Shabbos? what happens on that day? It's just like every other day. What's the point? No, you have to eat kosher. What difference is this food or that food? When I eat it, it's in my, you have to put on tefillin. Why should I put on tefillin? What's the point? I don't understand. I haven't been putting on tefillin for years. I never put on, I don't see any difference between me and you. Why should I do these things? People don't like to be told what to do. They don't like to be told what to do. But when a person feels the point of truth inside of himself, then he'll stop doing wrong things, he'll start doing right things. I was just reminded last night, a very interesting thing. The Rebbe said that if there would have been advertised the 7 Noahide commandments before World War II, it could have been that the whole war, the whole Holocaust would have been avoided. The whole Holocaust would have been avoided. Right? It could have been. Now what are this?
What do we do now?
We're trying a little bit. Now you know what the 7 Noahide commandments are? 7 Noahide commandments are things that Jews tell non-Jews not to do. Not to do. You really want to say that a German, a Nazi, is going to listen to some Jew coming and telling him 7 mitzvot Noach, and he's not going to listen to Hitler giving a speech about a greater Germany and finally giving identity to the German people, and we're going to conquer the world, and we're meant to be conquerors and everything. Everybody's going crazy and yelling, and some little Jewish guy is saying, hey, it's against God's will, you're not supposed to kill. Come on. You really want to believe that all these Germans are going to go against their nature? This was their nature. This was their blood. They loved conquering. They were all like one man. It didn't take much to convince them, right? They all rose up as one. Yes, we're going to kill, we're going to destroy, we're going to take over the world with the women, with the children, with the babies, with the old people, the professors and the stupid people. Everyone was for Hitler. What's the question? It was in their bones. They loved it. You want to tell me that one Jewish guy is going to tell them about the 7 Noahide commandments, and that's going to change their nature? It's their nature, right? I think that the Germans liked to make war and destroy and to conquer people more than the homosexuals like to do what they're doing, right? And they also, they say, it's my nature, I like it, I love that, that's great. It's great. You want to tell me that because somebody's telling me the 7 Noahide commandments that the German is going to stop killing and the homosexual will stop being a homosexual? Is that really logical? Does it make any sense? So that's exactly what the Mashiach is going to do. That's exactly what he's going to do. Mashiach is going to wake up the inner conscience inside of everybody, that people are going to feel, listen, there really is such a thing as right and wrong. It's really inside of me. It really is wrong to kill people. It's wrong to kill people, unless there's a justification. But it has to be a proper justification. It can't just be you want more land. It's really wrong. Homosexuality is really wrong. It is a wrong thing. Why? Because God said it's wrong, that's all. Right? To convince a German not to kill people was totally illogical. Why is it wrong to kill people? That's ridiculous. Wrong to kill people? You're talking about, we're fighting for a bigger Germany over here. You must be one of those Jews or one of those communists or something, right? Yeah. Why wrong to kill people? But the fact is people feel it inside of their souls. It's there deep inside of their soul. And that's what Mashiach is coming to wake up. He's coming to wake up the godliness inside of every human being's soul. Inside of a non-Jew, it wakes up the 7 Noahide commandments. And it's there. So how is it going to happen? Who knows? Maybe, let's say logically, one professor is going to get the idea. He'll tell his friends. They'll also get the idea. They'll send a secret letter to all the other professors. Nobody knows where the letter came from. Right? And then all of a sudden it starts spreading around. Then one of Hitler's, his aides gets this idea that maybe it's right, and then somebody puts a bullet through his head, and then all of a sudden, who knows how it could have been. How it could have been. But the fact of the matter is in the end, a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. The problem is what is light and what's darkness? When Moshe Rabbeinu came to Korach, he said, you fellows, you're in darkness. What do you mean we're in darkness? We're learning Torah all the time. We received the Torah. We heard directly from God. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. We were the ones that went out of Egypt. We're the big tzaddikim. We're in darkness, Moshe. We got to get rid of this guy. He's got a leadership, syndrome. Right? He's got the Mashiach syndrome. The guy's out of his mind. He's trying to make us all the time change ourselves. Hey, let Moshe, go and talk to the low people, talk to the homosexual, talk to somebody else. We're doing big mitzvahs. We're learning Torah all the time. Come on, Moshe. Moshe said, listen, you guys know what's happening. You know that I'm right. The fact is you know that I'm right. But it took now until this generation to start to seep in. So the Rebbe says, that's the idea of Mashiach. Why do people need Mashiach? They're going to be at this tremendously high level. Why do they need it? The inyan is like this. Because HaTorah, the Torah, he is, Bechinas, the level of Bli Gavul. It's unlimited. Ukamaimer, and like the saying, Yelchu milchayel al chayel. They will go from strength to strength. People who learn Torah go from strength to strength. It doesn't mean that you just learn more Torah. It means you become a different person. Sheyesh bechinas, that there are categories, umadregos, and levels, ein kates v'tachlis, without any end or stopping. Hakol, everything, the bechina, in a level of ilui achar ilui, elevation after elevation. But often in a way of hasagat haTorah, understanding the Torah. V'hine, behold, la'atid lavo, in the future. In other words, in the days of the Mashiach that we're so going crazy for, Yiyeh will be Gilui Elokus, revealed godliness, Bahasagas, understanding, and Penimius Torah, the inside of the Torah. Hainu, namely, Al Yedei Mashiach, by means of Mashiach. What's Mashiach going to do? Shehu Yilmod, that he will teach Penimiut Torah, the inside of the Torah, L'kol ha'am, to all of the people. He will show the infinite, the godliness of the Torah. It's possible to learn the Torah and forget about God. To learn the Torah and forget about the giver of the Torah. It's very possible to learn the Torah and just for the sake of the Torah. What does it mean just for the sake of the Torah? To understand the Torah, to be great in the Torah, to compare ideas of the Torah, to remember ideas of the Torah, to be fluent in the Torah, to know the whole entire Torah. But it just makes it possible that a person can know the whole Torah, and it just makes him into a bigger egotist, a greater and a greater egotist. How do you know? What's the test? How the person treats other Jews. If he really loves every single other Jew. Right? There's a wonderful example. I made a tremendous impression on me. There was a Jew, his name was Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein was a very tremendous Talmud Chacham. He was a tremendous Torah scholar. And he was also a what they call a posek. He knew how to decide laws. There were people that disagreed with the way he decided, but the Rebbe very, very much held from him. He knew how to but together with this, he was a very, very humble person. He was a very humble person. I mean, he knew how to fight battles for the Torah. For the Torah, he knew how to fight battles. But he didn't hate people, and he had a lot of enemies, and he didn't hate them. But there was one story that really impressed me about him, was that, and he was not a Hasidic rabbi. He was not a Hasidic person. He was a Litvish, really, Litvish, what do you say, straight going, not one of these wild guys who dances and goes crazy in weddings and something like that. He was a straight guy. There was a story that after he passed away, is that a lady came to his house, and she wanted to see the rabbi. He used to take questions every Tuesday or something like that. People would line up. One of the days of the week, people would line up, and they would ask him questions about Torah. They would ask him questions about law. And he passed away. This lady didn't know, and she came with a question. She came and said, what, did they change the day? And they said, we didn't hear. She said, no, the rabbi passed away. She cried. She said, I didn't know he was such a wonderful person. So it was this old, simple lady. They figured, what type of questions could she be asking? So that his pupils were also very genius people. They said, maybe we can answer your question. Maybe we can answer. What is your question? Or maybe we're his pupils. Maybe we can answer. So she said, are any of you can read Russian? So they said, no, we can't read Russian. But what is your question? I said, well, every Tuesday I would come in. I have a sister, or not every month or something. I have a sister in Russia. She would write me letters in Russian, and I can't read Russian. And so I would come in and ask the rabbi, and he would read me the letters. He would translate the letter for me. So the letter saying, today I ate a piece of fish, and yesterday I hurt my toe. Here's this big rabbi, and these people are asking him deep, complicated questions. And he isn't reading this old lady. He could have said to her, man, listen, do me a favor. I have my pupils outside. My time is precious. Do me a favor. Go to one of them. You know what? Wait right here. Yanko, come in. Take this lady and read her. Right? Or find somebody who didn't know people who knew Russian. But the lady wanted to be with the rabbi, and it was very important to her. And so she was important to him. That's how you can tell if the Torah is working on you or not. If it makes you a humble person. But it's possible to learn the Torah, know the whole Torah, and to be an egotist. You haven't got time for anybody. Everything makes you angry. As soon as somebody disturbs your learning or says something you don't like or goes against your idea, you don't try to understand what he's saying. Try to let's understand this. This person's saying exactly the opposite, right? Somebody called me an idiot today. Maybe he's right. Let's see what he says. Why did you call me an idiot? He says, I called you an idiot because you don't know the laws of, the red cow. He says, oh, you got a point, right? He says, no, I called you an idiot because you come from the city of Chicago. Everyone from Chicago. Okay, so I see. He's off board, right? But in any case, maybe I should listen to him. Maybe he's got some point. Who knows? If he's right, I should take his advice. If he's not, so he's not. Right? But some people, idiot. You don't know who you're talking to. They get all angry.
Let's set an award for not being an idiot.
I saw it once. I was in Bnei Brak. I saw there was a rabbi, mamish, dressed really nicely with a beard, a long beard. And it was in the bank. And somebody took cuts in front of him in the bank. The fact is, the guy did not take cuts in front of him. He was there before, but he went to the bathroom and he was there for a while. This guy came out. He was behind this person. He came out. And this fellow let him have it. He just started yelling and screaming at him. You're taking cuts. You're a chutzpan, go pachutz. And he was just trying to insult the guy. I said, listen, you want to go in front of me? Go in front of me. That's what you want. But it's possible that a person learns Torah and he becomes so bloated up and important himself. Says the idea of Mashiach is Mashiach is going to show the godliness of the Torah. He's going to show the inside of the Torah. The Torah is going to make you small. It'll make you feel how infinitely lucky I am just to be created. That God is creating me. You'll feel humble and lucky and happy to learn the Torah. That's what Mashiach is going to teach everybody, the penivist inside of the Torah. The call am to everybody. Gam ma, even what? Last word in line is ma. Shahaya, that was ke'et, now behelim, concealed. Ochen, but af al pikin, nevertheless, bevadai, certainly, who he himself, the Mashiach himself, yakir, will recognize yoter more. Ki lo kol ma shemasig, not everything that he understands ba'atzmo himself, not everything the Mashiach can understand, yochal, will he be able, legalos, to teach, to reveal, or lilamed, and to teach.